In an area like this, it's hard to stand out. That's unfortunate for those who frequent an area like this though, because a big chunk of them make a point to flaunt their wealth. Sorry, your $500,000 purchase doesn't get anyone to bat an eye around here. That being said, taken off the streets of Beverly Hills, most of these cars come as a pleasant surprise to enthusiasts on the street. Not everyone wants that attention though, so that can be a bit of a problem. There is, however, a perfect stealth well solution on the market that provides an amazing high-performance driving experience and luxury comfort without drawing too much attention to itself. It's so stealthy, in fact, that you already saw it in this video and you probably didn't even notice. Enter this, the Lexus RC F, and no, the irony's not lost on me that I'm calling a bright yellow car subtle. We'll get to that in a bit, but first, we have a rear-wheel drive car with a 472 horsepower V8. Shall we? Alright, we're in Sport S Plus mode and the car is in manual mode. We're using the paddle shifters. And the first thing people always want to know about something like this is it fast? Yes, it's fast. It's got a hair under 500 horsepower. It does 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds. And I don't want to hear about the C8 Corvette or any, this is much faster. 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds is fast. Sure, it's not the fastest, but it is fast. As far as driving quality goes, the steering is a little bit boaty, but it's not so much a sports car as much as it is like a grand touring car, much like the Mark IV Supra is. It's fast, it's fun, but it's also comfortable. You can take it on a really, really long road trip. The sound is magnificent. Oh man, I am a little bit biased because I love V8s, but that is one of the best sounding cars I've driven in quite some time. And of course, it's a V8, so the torque band is super low. You can just kind of put your foot down and accelerate, and that will get you in trouble with this car because it's also a Lexus RC, so it's very, very comfortable to drive. So if you're not paying attention to the speedometer, you might wind up going quite a bit faster than you think you are. The transmission isn't the most responsive dual clutch transmission I've ever felt. Obviously, I've driven stuff like the C8 Corvette with true dual clutch setup. Shifts super, super fast, and on the downshift especially, this kind of takes its time. The upshifts aren't lightning quick, but they are fast enough. Again, not supposed to be like an all-out sports performance car. Yeah, I mean, RCF isn't the first choice if you're looking for an all-out corner carving sports car, but don't discount its cornering ability just because I said that. The steering and handling performance might not be as agile as some other sports cars in this price range, but it does still provide more than enough fun on a windy road. Like I said, the transmission feels a little bit laggy in comparison to like a true dual clutch paddle shift transmission, but the shifts are fast enough. You can properly pick your gears. It just takes a little bit of getting used to if you're going to take it on some windy roads. What the Lexus RC F excels at is being an extremely comfortable car that is also fast. If you're somebody that does a lot of traveling by car, but you're not willing to sacrifice having something fun to drive while you do it, the RC F makes an awesome choice. I drove it about 500 miles round trip from where I live to San Diego, around the LA area and back, and I saw an average of about 23 miles per gallon, which I know isn't phenomenal. I'm used to getting north of 30 miles per gallon on a trip like that with my Fiesta ST, but you have to keep in mind that this is a pretty big and heavy car with a 472 horsepower V8. So getting over 23 miles per gallon on a road trip is more than good enough for me, especially when I get to sit here and listen to the engine the whole time. Perhaps the best argument that the RCF is a road trip king though is the seats. They are very sporty and bolstered and they feel like racing seats, but at the same time, they're leather, they're heated, they're ventilated, and they're unbelievably comfortable to be in for an extended amount of time. Multiple times a year, I take a trip that's over 20 hours worth of driving, and even knowing that I'd be spending hundreds of extra dollars in gas, just how comfortable and nice this thing is, I would love to take this on a road trip. It's got all the creature comforts you'd imagine for a 2023 luxury car to have: radar, cruise control, lane departure assist, all that and all this. You practically don't have to drive the car. But if a situation arises where you need to pass somebody, it's not really a problem, right? You have almost 500 horsepower, and let's be honest, even if you don't have to pass somebody, sometimes you just gotta put your foot down and listen to it. It does present a small problem though. The Lexus RC F suspension is super, super comfortable. You can feel that it's a little bit more rough and jittery than probably a standard base model RC would be, because it is an F after all, but it's still very refined and smooth feeling for something of this level of performance. And that's a bit of a problem. You see, combined with the nice quiet ride and the great sound system, it's really, really easy to lose track of what the speedometer in front of you says. And if you go to pass somebody on the interstate, you might wind up looking at a number that could result in the car being taken away from you. I would never incriminate myself and say that I'm speaking from experience. All I'm implying is that is a very, very possible scenario. Do with that information what you will. Overall, the RC F is phenomenal to drive, and I have to be honest, I came in this expecting not really to care that much about this car. For the price point, there are things that I would much, much rather buy. At least I thought so. And the biggest thing that was going on in my brain is this particular car, because of the color and the carbon package, it would cost you about $90,000. And of course, I don't have $90,000 to spend on a car, but if I was going that close to $100,000, I can't see myself not trying to come up with the initiative or a reason to get that little bit extra to buy the LC500. In my opinion, the LC500 is a little bit more refined as a sports car than the RC F. However, if you take away the carbon package and this color, the base price of the RC F is around $67,000, and that changes things. That's almost half the cost of an LC500, and it's about the same starting cost as a base model C8 Corvette. There are a bunch of other performance cars from BMW and Audi and Mercedes that fall right around that price category. And I think among the selection, if I wanted something from this genre, obviously, like I said, C8 Corvette's a little more hardcore sports car oriented. This is kind of a peak performance, but still comfortable, daily driver optimized sort of situation. You got a V8, you got a big trunk space. There's rear seats. They're useless if you have legs, but they are there. I think the combination of the comfort alongside the peace of mind knowing that there's Toyota engineering under the hood goes a long way. So while I'm more of a sports car lover, this is not really my sort of niche. However, I do very, very much enjoy driving this car. And if this is something that you're sort of in the market for, this flavor of car, if you will, it's phenomenal. The RC F is fantastic. And like I said, for under $70,000, it's a lot of car for the money. Now that I've ranted and raved about how phenomenal it is to drive, it is of course time to address the fact that nothing is perfect, and it's time for the complaining section. Incidentally, my biggest complaints about the RC F are all in here. Now, my first complaint is the interior material quality. Now, I can see how you might take issue with me complaining about the interior material quality because there's brushed metals here and leather on the incredibly comfortable seats I mentioned earlier, and carbon fiber all over the place because of the carbon fiber package. But that kind of is the reason that I'm choosing to complain, because amongst all of this, the headliner is quite nice. There's like micro suede on the cover here, perforated leather steering wheel, it's heated. It's all very good, except for some reason the top of the door panels and the dashboard are just kind of cheap looking plastic. It looks like Ford interior plastic, and it really, really lets down the rest of everything else. It bothers me a lot that just the gauge cluster cover seems to have Alcantara with blue leather stitching on it. I don't really know where the blue stitching on this particular portion fits in, other than it matches the blue stitching on the shift knob, but half the shift boot has white stitching, and then this Alcantara has black stitching. I don't know what's going on in here, but it's a little chaotic. At any rate, the materials are all very good except for the dash and the top of the door panels, and that just really, really makes them stick out. Everything else looks so nice. Even just having a removable dash cover that's Alcantara or leather would really, really heighten the interior feel and experience of this thing. Speaking of the Alcantara, micro suede, whatever we have cover here on the center console cover, the center console cover, the lid itself, is my next complaint, because you can see the way I'm sitting. You know, this is a normal driving position, so it would make so much sense for this to open towards the driver or even be double hinged so that it can open either way, but instead, for whatever reason, it opens like this. So if you want to reach for something, you have to lean forward or reach over here. If you have a passenger, you get to awkwardly elbow them right in the neck because you're trying to get into the center console that opens like that for some reason. And then once you're in here, you'll find that for some reason it still has 2 USB-A ports and an aux jack. Why? Why is there an aux jack? Put a USB-C port there, at least one. It is absolutely chaotic to me to just have 2 USB-As, no USB-C, and still have an aux jack. For the people, I guess, they're still toting around iPods. I respect you, but come on, there's not that many of you. Up next, I have to complain just a little bit about the navigation system. I have super long arms, so reaching the screen is not a problem for me for my preferred driving position, but a lot of people might struggle, have to lean way forward to get to it while they're driving, which is really inconvenient. However, Lexus did think of that, and there's this nice little control panel here where you have the map option, menu, and back button to help you navigate through that, and it does even work with Android Auto. And I would love it, except for it's this weird, like, scrolling touchpad that's also one huge button, and as you move around you can feel that there's like multiple buttons under there clicking, so it's not seemingly actually tracking my finger location. But what it is really, really good at is being in the way when you're driving. If you just rest your arm here, you touch something, you skip a song, you close a different menu, you do whatever, it starts scrolling through stuff. It's super annoying, and I just wish this was a little more refined. Other than those minor interior details though, I really don't have any complaints about the RC F. If I had to try to come up with one more thing, it's that the carbon fiber package costs $17,000, but I understand that carbon fiber is expensive and it takes a lot of work to produce and make look very nice. It's just a little crazy. Just adding the carbon fiber package can completely change what demographic of people can afford to have this car. I appreciate the carbon package, but I think just because of my own perspective, I would have preferred to have the one without it, because even though I know that's not what's making me enjoy this car so much, it feels unattainable because the color and the carbon package, the various other options have bumped it up to $90,000, whereas for under $70,000, like I was talking about earlier, it seems like a phenomenal deal. That's it, folks. That's the complaining section. Now back to praise. All right, now that you know what I love and don't love about the RC F, let's get back to the subtlety thing, right? Because how dare I call this car subtle? Even with this color though, it sort of just blends in. Sure, if you say park it in a large dirt field, it starts to stand out a little bit, but even in a regular parking lot, the badge, the overall car shape, nothing about it screams that you're wealthy or that you spent a lot of money on it. It doesn't quite carry the same implied arrogance that a BMW or Mercedes does. Strip away the color, strip away the $17,000 carbon option, and you've got just a fancy Toyota. And I know that sounds like I'm saying something bad, but I'm not. What that means is you're able to drive and enjoy your 470 horsepower expensive sports grand touring coupe without the stigma involved, the people looking at you like you think that you're better than they are. And you can think that. If you have this car, it wouldn't make you a good person, but you could get away with it because people might not assume that's what you're thinking. After all, you're just driving a Lexus. So there you have it. The Lexus RC F is the perfect stealth wealth car for someone who is looking for a spirited driving experience without sacrificing creature comforts. You don't have to be rich to have one either. It's fast, it's comfortable, and with the right options left unchecked, it's relatively affordable. My name is Braden Carlson. Thank you for watching.